Hello, the doc is in, and welcome back to another chapter of Black Clover, chapter 342, What I Saw That Night. In the last chapter, we basically meet some more of the group that protects the land of the sun. Don't remember the names, but it honestly doesn't matter. It's like 7 of them. Not important. Meet some of them, that's cool. We have more training with Asta, cool. By the end of the chapter, we have Ichika and Asta having a moment. She's being like, fangirling over Ryuya, and Asta is fanboying over Yami. And then Ichika's like, don't ever speak about that man. He's a terrible person. He killed his whole family. That's where we have the little cliffhanger to end off the chapter. And so this chapter begins with the story of her and her family's past. We basically find out a little bit about the Yami clan. They're a clan of assassins known as the Kijin. And effectively, their ancestors made a name for themselves and became well known for being really good fighters and fighting in many different battles. I assume they became samurai because they kind of used assassins and they switch over to talking about samurai. I assume they became samurai eventually, or at least were treated as samurai, and were left in charge of protecting the different provinces of the land of the sun. And one of those provinces belonged to the Ryudo family, which is the clan that I guess Ryuya comes from. And allegedly, the area where the Ryudo family controls used to be kind of like not owned, but kind of attacked, subjugated, whatever, by a 5-headed dragon that a celestial maiden came down from on high to stop. And after the celestial dragon the 5-headed dragon was defeated, its Ryuko seeped into the water and then causing it to turn black and apparently connecting the very ocean around them to hell, which is interesting. But that's pretty much all the backstory we get on the Yami clan. And we start off with basically Yami's dad and Yami. It seems fighting. It seems like Yami's dad's kind of a drunk and kind of one of those like stereotypical like, I guess looking back to the glory days kind of dad. I mean, I don't know. But basically he's a bad father. That's just it. He's abusive, whatever. Right? And so basically he's being like, you need to bring back the honor of the Yami clan, blah, 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 something, random babbling. Ichika shows up at this time and she comes to like kind of, I just wouldn't say protect, but kind of like, is showing concern for Yami at this time, right? And then when their dad sees Ichika, basically says like, you look just like her, or have the eyes of her. And then he's gonna hit her because basically, I guess his wife died at childbirth. Maybe he's, still depressed from that time, which is part of the reason why he's drunk, whatever. And as he's about to hit her, Yami comes in and protects her. And so when he protects her, basically he gets all happy. He's like, you have the Ryuko to bring back the clan's honor, blah, blah, blah. You're going to become the Kijin, whatever. And Yami's like, you know what? You're a terrible father. Ichika, let's get out of here. And so they go out. And so Ichika, Yami, and a couple of random villagers are fishing. Yami actually gets a fish, and it has devil horns, and apparently it's poisonous. It's like a puffer fish. Now, as they mentioned in the backstory, the waters are completely pitch black. Maybe it's not exactly black, but manga, black and white. In this moment, it's completely pitch black, and they're saying it's connected to hell. So, allegedly, this is just a hellfish, which is interesting. As they're fishing, Ryuya shows up, and he's basically like, I like fishing too, and whatever, and basically they're all talking. Well, the villagers are kind of like, your family's not gonna like this. He's like, no, I don't want people to be separated by class. I want everybody to live and be happy together as equals, whatever. At this time, Ichigo seems to like, I want to say, take inspiration or find his goals inspiring. And Yami also Yami sees his goals as kind of like ignorant, or like a goal that's like very lofty and kind of too grand for the world they live in. But he also respects his dream. He's actually, I wouldn't say excited, but he wants to see him achieve his dream, right? And so we get cut back to present day, and we have Ichika basically being like, I believed in Ryuda's dream, and I also trusted Yami, but it ended up what she says is that she felt like he was even worse than father in the end because he ended up killing all of them, right? And we have Ryuda. We cut back to the past. We have Ryuda carrying Ichiga. He's all bloodied. He has bandages on him. And we see Yami surrounded by a number of bodies holding a sword at 13. And Ichiga says that he killed the entire family, including their father, right? And so, of course, Asta's like, there's no way he wouldn't do something like that. And then Ichiga says, oh, he abandoned us. He ran away from the country and to be with people like you. And she basically says, I can't trust that man. So, and whatnot. Basically, she's just basically saying he's creditless and he's a murderer. And Asta's like, the Yami I've seen would never do something like that. You clearly, there must be more to the story. There's no way that's the whole story. And Ichiga's kind of feels disrespected. She's like, I just told you my backstory, and you have the audacity to effectively disrespect me by saying I'm wrong. The traumatization that I saw was wrong. And so she's basically like, it's the truth. And Asta's like, fuck your truth, it ain't real. And so Ichika's like, okay, you know what? Let's put that to the test. We're training right here, right now. Let's see just how strong you've gotten. And so she pops out her magic, right? Mind you, earlier she didn't use her magic. She just went hand to hand and she almost murdered him. I mean, Asta still got up at the end before she like slapped the shit out of him, but he almost got knocked out at the end without no magic. And now she activates Dark Yojutsu, Dark Cloaked Black Musha, which basically gives her like dark, well, she also has, well, first off, she has dark magic. And it basically gives her like this armor effectively. And it coats her, it basically is like Black Asta, but black magic samurai. And basically she says, we're gonna fight right here, right now. Prepare yourself. I don't care if I kill you. So yeah, that's how the chapter ends. Chapter interesting. Ending very interesting. But we'll start with that because that's like super straightforward. It seems like she took like the fact that Asta doesn't believe that that's what happened personally, and is basically saying like, hey, either you die here or you survive, but either way, none of my business. Which is fair enough. Going off the past stuff, obviously, or at least somewhat obviously, there's more to the story. There has to be more context for this, because from what we can tell, she had just woken up at the very end of it. Maybe there's more to it that we just didn't get to see in the flashback that she saw. But right here, it just looks like he's surrounded by bodies. It seems like bodies of his clan. And yes, he has a sword, and maybe he did kill them. But there has to be more to the story. Like, it can't be that, oh, he simply just randomly went out and murdered all his clan members, except for Ichika, which wouldn't really make sense. If he was killing everybody, then why did he kill her? And then there's also the fact that, once again, Ryuya, when encountering Asta, knowing that Asta was with Yami, asks how Yami was doing. And when speaking of Yami, had no obvious ill will and or like dark, I wouldn't say dark feelings, any negative feelings towards Yami. It seems he's not yet said, as one of the people who would know Yami, and clearly was one of the people at this event, does not show any issues with Yami, which could lead in two directions. Either Ryuya's evil, and maybe he orchestrated this event in some way, shape, or form, or Ryuya has more context to this and he just hasn't bothered telling Ichika, or for whatever reason, and he just knows that Yami didn't kill these people for like no reason. It's one of the two. Either Ryuya is a good person, and for like, we can come up with literally any reason, but for whatever reason he just decided not to tell Ichika that actually Yami's not a good person, or maybe Ichika just chose not to believe him. I doubt it, since Ichika seems to be so indebted to Ryuya and everything, and seems to trust him very deeply. I have no reason to believe that if he told her, hey, that's what you saw was not the context of what happened. Let me give you the context. It wasn't what you saw, wasn't exactly what happened. I feel like she would believe him. So my only guess is that he just didn't tell her for whatever reason, or he's evil, to which he caused the situation in some way, shape, or form. Maybe he wasn't evil, maybe he made a mistake, whatever it was, and then Yami took the fall for it, and he opted to just kind of like let Yami be viewed as like an evil guy because he ended up leaving anyway, and not mention it. Those are only two options. But in terms of the rest of the backstory, it's interesting. It's very interesting that they say that the water was connected to hell. I'm assuming the dragon thing is basically like that was a devil, and that came into like their area, like so it was summoned somehow or some way, and it just made me look like a dragon, or maybe its magic allowed it to turn into like a dragon kind of thing, whatever it is. But basically it dying, I guess it bled into the ocean, and that caused it to become like a portal to hell in some way, or at least like a minor portal to hell. So like they can like the people in the land of the sun can interact with the water and enter hell, quote unquote, but things from hell can't come out into hell. Who knows? But outside of that, everything else seems pretty standard. He comes from a long line of powerful dark magic users. I mean, not all dark magic users, but a powerful group of samurai who defeated the devil in the past, etc., etc. Clan's honor, etc. Their dad's a bad person, which kind of falls in line with the rest of the Black Bulls of having like questionable past. So everything else is pretty standard. The ending part is where we got a lot of discussion for, and deciding whether one, Ryuya is bad or not is something, and whether there's more whether the context of what happened explains away what she saw. It probably does, but there also could just be a part where maybe it really was like, maybe like, hey, he killed all of them, he had his reasonings for it, and because we see her dad, and her dad's not a good person, which is part of the reason why it's kind of like, you know, obviously, you know, killing people's always killing people, but her dad was a bad dad. That was just clear. So for her to kind of like throw Yami under the bus for possibly her whole family to not care about her is interesting. It's also that even Yami killed those people because they were going to do something to her, and it was either he stops them or they kill her kind of beat. I mean, you really never know. But nonetheless, I think that's about it for this chapter. So leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you dislike it. Comment, what do you think is the context for the scene we saw with Yami and the sword and all the dead bodies round up? Were they possessed people? Were his clan members just evil? Was it like he was in a dangerous position? What is the context of that? How's Ryuya feeling to this? And is Ichika kind of being dumb? Leave those comments down below. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these every time a new chapter of Black Clover comes out. Feel free to also subscribe and ring the notification bell when more chapter reviews come out for other series I cover, such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Tokyo Revengers as it's ending, and 2 more series that will be added very soon. With that all being said, once again, thank you for watching the video, and the doc is out. Peace.